All right. Hello. Hi there and welcome. It is Father's Day. Happy Father's Day to everyone out there who is a father. And I am one, and we had a good day today. Got to spend it with both my kids. Hope you guys had a good one as well. And just wanted to say hello. My name is Doug Diamond. You're here for the Diamond Report Live. And it is currently 10:13 p.m. on June 18th. That's an awful lot of sixes. 6 and then 18 is 3 6s. So, wow. Anyway, I hope it's been a good day for you guys. And let's take a look at the news. We've got a few things to look at and a few video clips to check out as well. So we will see how much we can get through. I'll try and keep the broadcast to around 2 to 2.5 hours. I don't like going too much more than that just because I feel like it's asking too much for people to watch 3-hour programs and so forth. So, you know, I'll edit it down if I have to, but I'll try and keep it in the 2 to 2.5 hour range if possible. Yeah, let's take a look at the news. First one, of course, is Happy Father's Day 2023. To all the dads out there today, thank you and have a wonderful day. This is from the Gateway Pundit. It says Psalm 103:13, as a father has compassion on his children, so the Lord has compassion on those who fear him. So the first two videos that we saw had to do with the crazy thinning of the veil, as I call it, and other people refer it to that as well. You know, the first video, the Greg Reese report, I'm sure many people have already seen that already. Many of you guys have already seen that. And one thing that was mentioned in it was green lasers. Reminds me of the old laser thing, Dr. Evil. The green lasers at the South Pole. Well, guess what? If you go to HalTurnerRadioshow.com, he's got a picture of one. This is presently taking place at the South Pole, and you can see it is actually time-stamped. Sometimes Hal makes the mistake of putting videos and pictures that are old on his website and then mentioning that they're new news. But this one actually is time-stamped. So take what you will out of this. It says South Pole Station 2023 6/19 11:54. And there's a green laser. Some type of very large laser-type light is being emitted directly into space from Amundsen Scott South Pole Station, which I think is what the guy in the first video mentioned, the Greg Reese report. Green lasers shooting up to the sky. It says the Amundsen Scott South Pole Station is a U.S. scientific research station at the South Pole. It is the southernmost point under the jurisdiction, not the sovereignty of the U.S. The station is located on the high plateau of Antarctica at 9,300 feet above sea level. It is administered by the Office of Polar Programs of the National Science Foundation, specifically the U.S. Antarctic Program. It is named in honor of Norwegian Roald Amundsen and Briton Robert Scott, who led separate teams that raced to become the first to the pole in the early 1900s. And there's the very building that you probably saw in that first video that we watched tonight. So, pretty wild. There's a little bit more information on here, not a ton, but I just thought it was pretty interesting that the green laser light thing's shown up here on the news just as I was kind of putting this show together today. So I don't know what you guys think, but let me know. That's on HalTurnerRadioshow.com, and let me look and see what other headlines he's got here. Well, the one thing that we mentioned was the training exercise that's going on in the Ukraine and Russia area, and that apparently is almost over. Here's what this says. This is from yesterday. Reminder, today is June 17th. Only 6 days until NATO Air Defender 23 ends, so it's about 5 days now, and may go to live war. I don't know if you guys saw last week's show, but I mentioned this as well. Then it says there's only about 5 days remaining until the official end of NATO's largest air exercise in the history, dubbed Air Defender 2023. When that exercise ends on June 23rd, it is thought that NATO will find reason to enter the Russia-Ukraine conflict directly, thereby triggering full-on war with Russia. Nuclear weapons would fly. So as you guys know, we are inching closer and closer and closer to this every single day, it seems. So I think Hal has had really good reporting on this. I think his time frames have been off, but his detail on the goings-on over in the Ukraine has been really good, and from what I can tell, highly accurate. So feel free to look at his website for more information. This particular article is front and center on the homepage and open to the public. Every now and then he has subscriber-based articles that you can only see as a subscriber, but none of these are. So anyway, feel free to look at that if you guys want to. And yeah, as far as the first two videos that we watched tonight, do you guys think that there will be some sort of Project Bluebeam or something? I don't know. I do know a lot of people that think that's where it's headed. Fake alien invasion. I don't know. I don't really think so. I sort of think that at this point that's sort of not really old technology, but I think too many people know about it to fall for it, honestly. So I don't really see that happening. Let me know what you guys think in the chat. Looks like we got quite a few people here tonight. So welcome. Glad you guys made it. And yeah, let's take a look here at some of the other headlines. Oh, as far as the alien invasion stuff, I do have something similar to that. You'll see the little alien head on this timeline that I've been working from for so long. And I actually added that. That was not part of the original timeline. But what I have down here is not a fake alien invasion at all. It's really more along the lines of a real alien encounter. And here's what I said. The red boxes that you see on the map here on the timeline are ones that I've added. The original timeline in white is a Fuel Project timeline based on the book of Revelation. So what I wrote here was, when Satan is thrown down to earth, his army that comes with him may be the, quote, alien invasion we keep hearing about. In reality, they are fallen angels and or their technology, not space aliens. That's a myth and a lie. Those are words that I wrote on this timeline about 2019, so some time ago. And the reason I have it on here is because I felt like it really coincided well with the Antichrist beginning his reign and Satan losing the war in heaven and being thrown down to earth permanently, being locked out of heaven, as it was. So I don't know. I mean, this, of course, is a total guess, but what I've got here on my timeline based on Jesus' return in September of 2028, Feast of Trumpets, 2028. If you go back 3.5 years, you get January of 2025. If that is when the Antichrist reign begins, it makes sense to me that that is when there would be some sort of alien, you know, whether it's a mile-wide ship across multiple cities like you see in the movies, or if it's something simpler than that, you know, just some visitors from another planet is what they'll couch it as, when in fact it will just be most likely demonic and or fallen angel technology. So we will see. We will see. I don't think that Project Bluebeam is what's going to happen. So again, let me know what you guys think. Dancing with the Devil. OpenAI boss calls for collaboration with China. This is on technocracy.news. Technocrats across the world have a naive affinity for each other, regardless of political system at the top. This is partly because technocrats have no use for political systems, except for the extent that they can be used to further technocrat goals, like the U.S. government and China's governors will grab any technology useful for warfare and try to capitalize on it. So this is talking about the Sam Altman, who's the CEO of ChatGPT, the developer for OpenAI, called for a collaboration between American and Chinese researchers to counter the risks of artificial intelligence. China has some of the best AI talents in the world, so I really hope the Chinese AI researchers will make great contributions here, end quote, Altman said on Saturday at a conference in Beijing. Pretty interesting as far as the OpenAI, calling for the OpenAI boss, the guy that came up with ChatGPT, calling for collaboration with China. So we'll see how that works out. Don't know. Synthetic human embryos, no need for eggs or sperm. So this one is also on technocracy.news. At the same time, when synthetic wombs are being created, genetic scientists are perfecting synthetic embryos where traditional eggs and sperm are not required. This, and also I would add that God is not required either, is it? He's being left out of the equation completely. This scenario is reminiscent of Aldous Huxley's book, Brave New World, where all babies were created in a test tube and incubated to term in an artificial womb. So they get rid of the parents and family completely in favor of the government, the one world government, as the mommy and daddy both. Scientists have created synthetic human embryos using stem cells in a groundbreaking advance that sidesteps the need for eggs or sperm. Scientists say these model embryos, which resemble those at the earliest stages of human development, says they resemble them, but they're not them, could provide a crucial window on the impact of genetic disorders and the biological causes of recurrent miscarriage. So they always couch it in benevolence. They always say how great it's going to be. They never tell you the downside. But believe me, they know the downside as well. However, the work also raises serious ethical and legal issues as the lab-grown entities fall outside current legislation in the UK and most other countries, and they probably wouldn't be considered actual humans either, I wouldn't think, legally. Jack Dorsey, VR will turn us into Wally blobs who drink food out of straws. I don't know if you guys saw that movie, but I remember thinking, yep, that looks like our future. The founder of Twitter, Jack Dorsey, has leveled stark criticism at the end result of virtual and enhanced reality. It's currently very expensive to play, but as prices are brought down and the masses can afford to purchase, the disruptive side effect could be devastating to society. Twitter founder Dorsey has issued a dire warning about the future that we could end up living like the characters in WALL-E once headsets like the Vision Pro become the norm. And then talks about the Apple Vision Pro, which you guys may know about. Mixed reality headsets like the Apple Vision Pro could turn us all into lazy blobs who drink food out of straws and watch TV 24/7. I don't think we have time for that, by the way. That's at least what billionaire Twitter Dorsey thinks. In an interview, he's worried that we are moving towards a future that looks like the popular Pixar film WALL-E. In WALL-E, humanity has spent hundreds of years on a spaceship controlled by AI. Their lives have become so comfortable that nobody has to exercise or work, and instead, people just consume nonstop. So, yeah, that is probably where we would be headed if Jesus doesn't intervene, which I personally believe he will be very soon. So, but yeah, I mean, it looks like a glimpse of the future if it weren't for those facts that I think God will be returning. Jesus will be coming in the flesh very soon. Again, I made videos on it. This is on the Daily Fetched. I saw this and was not too shocked. I'm sure you guys won't be either. The feds quietly dropped charges against Democrat donor SBF in multi-billion-dollar FTX scam. Remember Sam Bankman-Fried? Remember that guy? Who's been hanging out at his parents' home lately? Says the disgraced founder of collapsed FTX crypto exchange and the second biggest Democrat donor in the 2022 midterms had several charges against him dropped by the feds. Crypto giant FTX went bankrupt last year, losing billions and wrecking the lives of thousands of crypto investors. In January, he pleaded not guilty to all 8 counts related to the sudden collapse of his crypto Ponzi scheme. But on Tuesday, SBF pleaded not guilty in New York to 8 charges related to collapse of his former crypto exchange and hedge fund Alameda Research. He was indicted on 8 counts, including the following charges: conspiracy to commit wire fraud and securities fraud, individual charges of securities fraud and wire fraud, money laundering, conspiracy to avoid campaign finance regulations. The FTX attorney testified that the FTX co-founder used a secret backdoor to launder money to Alameda Research, a sister company. His girlfriend, Caroline Ellis, admitted she and Bankman-Fried conspired to mislead investors and customers. However, federal prosecutors announced on Thursday they would drop several of the charges. It says the offer to sever 5 of the 13 charges followed a ruling earlier this week in the Bahamas that allows Bankman-Fried to challenge the additional charges. So it sounds like he's going to get off scot-free to me. The prosecutors did not provide any explanation for the sudden withdrawal of these charges, which were filed in September. The charges had accused Bankman-Fried and his associates of operating an unregistered securities exchange, facilitating illegal transactions, and failing to comply with KYC and AML requirements. So this guy, conservative commentator Ian Miles Chang, says SBF is going to walk, just watch. That's what it looks like. So I think that they really think that we're that stupid and that we've forgotten all about this guy by now. Not that I was involved in crypto, but remember how big a story it was last fall and then all of a sudden it totally disappeared, and now it looks like he's going to walk, which he really has been up to now anyway. He spent very little time behind bars, I think only just a few days. Anyway, just wanted you guys to know. Not too surprising, huh? Because he was the top Democrat donor. That says a lot right there. Vladimir Putin tells the West to go to Hades, as they call him a despot. As despot confirms that nuclear weapons have been moved to Belarus as a precaution for anyone thinking of inflicting a strategic defeat on Russia. So obviously the Daily Mail is a little jaded towards the Ukrainian side, but says Lukashenko and Belarus has started receiving Russian tactical nukes. It is Moscow's first move of such bombs outside Russia since the fall of the Soviet Union. So yeah, they've moved nuclear weapons into Belarus. So I don't think that's a good sign. What do you guys think? So there's quite a bit more information here. This is on the Daily Mail, and I've seen it in a few other places as well. Not good. We are headed toward World War III, if you ask me. LeoHoman.com, cyber pandemic, crisis coming bigger than COVID. It says, cyber attack hits federal agencies. Hackers announce another attack they say will target the Western banking system. Says there's breaking news out today, June 15th. So this actually has not happened as far as I can tell. But it was widely reported. So I sort of wanted to just get it on the record tonight. In that, it's something that could happen in the future, and it's something that that Schwab and the World Economic Forum have been talking about. But whether or not it happens, who knows? I mean, they definitely want to crash the banking system. I personally think that will happen, that it'll probably be the result of a war, though, not really a cyber attack. There's breaking news today, June 15th, that several agencies of the U.S. federal government have been hit with a cyber attack, the extent of which is not yet known, while another attack targeting the Western financial system has been dangled out there by a group of hackers said to be affiliated with Russia, which, who knows? Could be just further propaganda. This global cyber attack is reportedly exploiting a flaw in widely used software used by several U.S. federal government agencies. The U.S. Cybersecurity Infrastructure Security Agency, CISA, confirmed the attacks in a statement to CNN. CISA is providing support to several federal agencies that have experienced intrusions, said Eric Goldstein, CISA's Executive Assistant Director for Cybersecurity. We are working urgently to understand impacts and ensure timely remediation. So, I don't know. We'll see. There's a video embedded here. Might be worth watching. And here's Klaus Schwab talking about the coming cyber attack. I mean, they just need an excuse to crash the system is what seems like to me. And I'm sure you guys are probably thinking something similar. I do think they'll get their crash because obviously we know, even from looking at it from a biblical standpoint, they get their one world currency. They get their one world government for a short time anyway. How they do it is anyone's guess, really, but it seems to me like they will get their war probably first and foremost, and that could be a catalyst to get us into the one world currency after they crash everything. So I don't know. We'll see how it all plays out. Obviously, I think we're going to live through it very soon. ReclaimTheNet.org. The United Nations is plotting a code of conduct for online platforms to combat misinformation. More censorship demands coming next year. UN Secretary General Guterres took center stage at the UN headquarters to speak about what he thinks is the spiraling issue of online, quote, misinformation, which I'm sure this show would definitely count as online misinformation, because all we really care about here is exposing the truth, which that's online misinformation in an inverted world. The proposal, going on record, Guterres dubbed the misinformation situation grave and pitched the idea of stitching together an international code. His game plan, question mark, a trifecta alliance roping in governments, tech juggernauts, and civil society aimed at putting the brakes on the rampant spread of false information, especially on social media. What could possibly go wrong? That just means the truth is getting out. What he said, the proliferation of hate and lies in the digital space, which again means truth and stuff that we disagree with, is causing grave global harm now, Guterres said at the press conference on Monday. It's fueling conflict, death, and destruction now. It's threatening democracy and human rights now. So obviously he is well aware that the truth is coming out, and he does not like it. So they're going to try and come up with some sort of UN program to fight it, to fight the truth. So I don't know if you guys know about this. I just found out about it earlier today. There is an AI Jesus on Twitch, and it's completely surreal. Yes, completely surreal. Folks have asked what they're calling the Son of God about Fortnite, Neon Genesis, Evangelion, terrorism, and so much more. So I don't know if you guys have seen it. I looked at it just to see what in the world it was. It's literally just a channel on Twitch, which is a live streaming platform for gamers. And I was using it for a while. I was on Twitch as a backup, Twitch and DLive for some time. I don't know, for a few months. And they kicked me off. So I got completely banned from using Twitch. There's no way I can even really create an account there again, unless I do it under like a pseudonym or something. But I don't really have any need to, because I found some other platforms that don't censor, that are able to handle my live stream. So I'm not really too worried about it. But yeah, Twitch is one of the channels on there is this AI Jesus. It says, when I opened Twitch the other day to watch the Ubisoft Forward presentation, I saw something new and unexpected on my list of live channels we think you'll like. And he says it's recommended to him an artificially intelligent rendition of Jesus, doling out anime summaries and life advice to, at that time, some 300 viewers. So what you do is, and I looked at it, I didn't try it, of course, but I just looked at it to see what in the world it was. And it's sort of this ethereal, new age looking, Jesus on screen, and his mouth moves, but it's totally fake looking. And people in the chat are literally just asking it things, and I think it's running through either ChatGPT or something like that. And it's answering whatever questions you type in. So that's what it is. But I thought, man, how ridiculous is this? It says AI Jesus will take your questions now. It says the Ask Jesus is a project by the Singularity Group, a team of self-described, driven, and ambitious volunteer activists building games and creating AI solutions. So they think Jesus is a game. So what's that tell you? Anyways, this is where we're going, folks. This is where it's headed. Just warning you. I didn't know if you guys knew about this, but man, pretty sick, pretty dumb, and pretty silly. And definitely blasphemy. But they don't care. They do it anyway because they think it's fun, and they might make a buck or two. I don't know. I don't know if they're just running ads, or I don't know exactly how you'd monetize something like this, but apparently they are. Otherwise, they wouldn't be doing it. Amazon just locked a man out of his smart home for a week because a delivery driver reported him as a racist after mishearing something from the doorbell. The guy wasn't even at home. And we've got the picture of Hal 9000 here. I'm sorry, Dave. I can't unlock your house. This story sounds like it comes straight out of a dystopian sci-fi novel. A man found himself locked out of his smart house powered by Amazon. So a reason to not be powered by Amazon. Because while he wasn't home, an Amazon delivery driver mistakenly thought he heard racist remarks come from the man's doorbell and reported it to Amazon. And Amazon immediately locked down the account, locking the man out of his home. This is what the man accused of racism wrote on Medium. When I connected with the executive, they asked if I knew why my account had been locked. When I answered I was unsure, their tone turned somewhat accusatory. I was told that the driver who had delivered my package reported receiving racist remarks from my Ring doorbell. It turns out that the delivery driver with headphones on imagined he heard something racist from the doorbell, but the owner of the house wasn't even home when that event happened. He also had cameras all over the property that showed he was totally innocent. Probably meaning showed him leaving and then being gone during those hours. I reviewed the footage and confirmed no such comments have been made. Instead, the Eufy doorbell had issued an automated response, "Excuse me, can I help you?" The driver, who was walking away and wearing headphones, must have misinterpreted the message. Nevertheless, by the following day, my Amazon account was locked and all my Echo devices were logged out. How insane is this? They lock a man out of his home from Thursday, May 25th to Wednesday, May 31st. In the end, my account was unlocked on Wednesday with no follow-up email to inform me of the resolution. It's 2023, y'all. Corporations can now lock you out of your home and completely shut down your life if they think you're racist. Yeah, well, that's only if you're dumb enough to have stuff like that in your house. So if you guys have a Amazon Alexa and some of these other pieces of technology, I would advise that you don't, because this is where we're headed. This is where it's going. What if they don't like something you said for real on social media and decide to lock you out of your house, or maybe just your refrigerator? Maybe they don't like something else that you said online or something that you ate last week, so they're going to lock your refrigerator because it's a smart refrigerator. Or there's so many things that could happen. They could lock you out of your car if they think you've driven too many miles and you've got an electric vehicle of some sort. So, I don't know. That's where it's headed, and obviously the best thing we can do is to just say no. To say no to the tyranny, to say no to this technology that is a technocracy that's going to attempt to control our lives. This is another example here. Yesterday morning, I noticed that our internet service was out for a while, and I started searching around on Twitter using a backup system. I was able to get online, not using my normal system. The backup system is a bit slow, but it works. And one of the tweets I came across was this guy who said that there was a major Comcast business outage at all our locations across the country, and this guy says, "My Tesla lost connectivity for the past 10 hours and won't unlock. Waiting on a tow. Did someone blow up a satellite or something?" So this guy got locked out of his Tesla because there was no internet connection. I thought that was pretty interesting. And then somebody asked him why it was connected, and he said that you should be able to get in with a key card, but mine looks like an isolated electrical issue. They've never seen this issue. That's always the excuse. They've never seen the issue, and they're sending over a technician. So this guy got locked out of his Tesla when his internet service went down. So it's the same type of thing. And this is just one story I happened to come across yesterday when I was looking on Twitter trying to find out what was going on with Comcast in my area. Yeah, and it was down not only in this area, but in Florida and in several other places yesterday. So I don't know if that was some sort of a trial balloon where they're just seeing what happens, or if there really was some issue. It was only down about an hour or so. But anyway, just wanted you guys to know, don't have all these electronic devices running your life, because before you know it, you can be shut off from your life. So this guy is the guy that we saw in the original video tonight, the first video that I played with Greg Reese Report, and he mentioned this Eric Hecker, and this is the full interview. And again, I'll link to this on my Substack tomorrow. Whistleblowers in D.C., UFOs, black budget operations, Antarctica, DOMS, which I'd never heard of before. I've heard of DUMS, but not DOMS. UFOs used in human trafficking. So this is the full interview, and I think it's maybe like 2 or 3 hours long or something, but just know that it is out there if you guys want to see more information from this guy, a so-called whistleblower. I tend to believe him. He seems like he is legitimate to me, from what I can tell. But, yeah, pretty interesting stuff. And I don't know. We'll see. I do think that, like I said, that they might try something like a Project Bluebeam, but I really can't envision that. I don't think we have that kind of time. I think that's something that people like to talk about and spend time researching, but to me it's a little bit like some of the other issues that are out there front and center that don't really matter that much. I don't really think that there's enough time for things like that, but I do think it definitely behooves us to understand what people like Eric Hecker here is saying, because that could really give us a glimpse toward the future, and however limited that might be, and maybe then we will know a little bit more about what we can really expect. So on the Federalist, extremist left claims only Nazis want to teach children grammar and patriotism. Only Nazis. So don't you think they're overusing that word just a little bit? It's like the old Princess Bride. I don't think that means what you think it means. The Washington Post claims using the colors red, white, and blue in pictures of the American founders is a racist dog whistle. WAPO says Valerie Strauss is at it again, amplifying far-left partisans in their war on quality education for American kids. On June 8th, she wrote about a report claiming schools that used a classics-based curriculum are vanguards of right-wing Christian nationalism. Therefore, Nazi, right? According to her. Yeah, it says such imagery on the school's website is designed to attract white conservative families, which to her would be exactly as the same as Nazis. Says Strauss says, citing the report, the implicit bigotry is appalling, assuming some people wouldn't be interested in patriotic ideas simply because of their skin color. Who is the racist? People who think American patriotism has a skin color, or people who don't? So, yep, kind of says it all. But that's on thefederalist.com. Italian supervolcano may erupt after more than 500 years. Researchers emphasize that further investigation is needed to accurately predict the occurrence of an eruption. I don't think they're very good at predicting eruptions. The Campi Flegrei supervolcano in southern Italy has reportedly weakened, increasing the likelihood of eruption, according to new research conducted by University College London and Italy's National Research Institute for Geophysics and Volcanology. Using the innovative model that analyzes earthquake patterns and ground uplift, the peer-reviewed study published in the journals Nature's Communications, Earth and Environment found that certain parts of the volcano have been stretched to the point of potential rupture. However, the researchers emphasize that further investigation is needed to accurately predict the occurrence of an eruption. The Campi Flegrei volcano has exhibited signs of unrest for over 70 years, with periods of intensified activity in the 50s, 70s, and 80s, followed by a slower phase of unrest in the past decade. So we will see. But this article is on the Jerusalem Post, is where that is. So yeah, we'll see. Not something I have heard Dutch Sense talking about recently, but he does bring up volcanoes quite often on his broadcast. He doesn't try and forecast eruptions, but he does talk about them and how they are connected to earthquakes, which I do find very interesting. An entrepreneur asks Elon Musk if he can buy the Who from Bill Gates. His reply: Twitter users reminisced about the Tesla founder's conversation in 2017 about the purchase of Twitter, when recently one user asked Musk if he can buy the Who from Bill Gates. I thought that's pretty funny. An entrepreneur named Eli David asked Twitter boss if he can buy the Who from Gates, and Musk responded by saying, "How much does it cost?" So that was pretty funny. It says Dr. David replied to Musk, the Who's annual budget, $7 billion, and the Who annual damage is over $700 billion. So I guess it would be a bargain if you were able to buy it and shut it down. Anyway, thought that was pretty funny. News Wars, is there about to be a fake alien invasion? Well, we watched that video at the beginning of the show. I don't know what you guys thought of it. I thought it was pretty interesting. Brian Wilson reveals Werner von Braun's deathbed warning of an alien invasion staged by the U.S. government in light of bombshell claims from an intelligence officer turned whistleblower. So in this video here with the dark journalist that's embedded is really good too. So yeah, getting again into the whole Project Bluebeam idea. IRS agents rounding up gun purchase records. Montana Attorney General spoke to Breitbart Saturday morning and told them that armed IRS agents rolled into Great Falls Highwood Creek Outfitters Wednesday and seized dozens of boxes of ATF forms, 4473s, the background check form containing information on gun purchasers. The agents hit the store prior to regular business hours. So they raided the store and took all these forms, which they're ATF forms. So I'm not really sure why the IRS is taking ATF forms. You'd think the ATF would care about that. But maybe they're all working together, I suppose. But pretty interesting. So if you're in Montana and you recently bought a gun, just be aware. Ladies and gentlemen, I present a soccer fight. So you ready for something that is hilarious? Now, keep in mind, I'm a hockey fan. I watch hockey games, one team in particular, the team based here in Nashville, the Predators. And, man, when they have a fight, it is a real man's fight. Typically. I mean, sometimes you'll get some pushing and shoving and somebody might fall down or something, but plus, given the fact that they're on skates, on ice, makes it that much more difficult to have an actual fist fight. But when they really get going, I mean, you'll see some faces getting bashed in, you know. I mean, they really, really go at it, and they do not hold back, usually. Of course, some fights are better than others if you want to look at it in those terms. But here is a soccer fight, just so you know. This is what we're talking about here. So just keep watching. It gets better. So that was a decent swing. Now watch this guy in red or orange. He missed, and he missed again and again and again, and he's just swinging his arms randomly. So that is a soccer fight. I should have queued up a hockey fight so you can see what that looks like. But it's literally a girls' slap fight in front of the whole world. How these two men have been able to look at themselves in the mirror to shave after this disgraceful showing is beyond me. Soccer, man. I thought that was pretty funny. If you needed a laugh, there you go. You're welcome. Meet Elon Musk's latest software engineer. He's 14. When I was 14 years old, this is the person talking from notthebee.com, I made money by mowing lawns, and if we're being honest, I wasn't very good at it. I feel like this young man has a better approach. Elon Musk hires profoundly gifted 14-year-old to work on satellite team at SpaceX. Man, wow. Elon Musk's aerospace aspirations are set to be helped by the youngest employed software engineer on the planet. Carrion Quasi, 14, landed a prestigious job at the space exploration company's satellite team shortly before his upcoming graduation from Santa Clara University. So, wow. 14 years old. A man in Illinois is facing felony charges after he shot himself in the leg while he was asleep and dreaming about an intruder. So, I had a conversation with a friend or two on Facebook recently. People were commenting to me about how people are getting dumber and dumber. I mean, we are literally living in idiocracy too. So, a man in Illinois is facing time in prison after he accidentally shot himself in the leg in his sleep. Talk about adding insult to injury. He told the police he was dreaming about an intruder who entered his house. The 62-year-old Chicago, well, I mean, he lives in Chicago. Obviously, you're going to have somebody breaking into your house. The 62-year-old Chicago suburbanite apparently has really vivid and realistic dreams. And to be fair, if I lived outside Chicago, I'd probably have similar dreams. Yeah, for sure. I think he should move. Of course, now he's probably going to be moving to prison. A Lake Barrington man was charged about 2 months after Lake County Sheriff's deputies were called to his home on April 10th on a report about a person with a gunshot wound. Deputies who found 62-year-old man with a gunshot wound to one of his legs applied a tourniquet to the limb because he was losing a significant amount of blood before being hospitalized. The man picked up a .357 Magnum after believing a man broke into his house and began robbing him. He shot at the intruder in the dream, but in reality, he shot himself in the leg and woke himself up. Well, that's good. Says that's when 911 was called, and the police helped get the man to the hospital before he lost too much blood. I don't know why his firearm license had been revoked, but he's now being prosecuted for felony of illegally owning the firearm. So apparently he sleeps with a loaded gun under his pillow or something. Says he already posted bail. So, yeah, so idiocracy too. More proof. Man, that was on notthebee.com. Resistthemainstream.com. Las Vegas police install cameras on homes that reported aliens. We covered this last week. A family afraid for their safety. News of war in Ukraine diminished European democracy and persecution of Donald Trump shared headlines with a reported alien encounter, and we talked about this at length last week. Las Vegas family called police last month, claiming a UFO crashed in their backyard and they came face-to-face with alien beings. That's not exactly what happened, but pretty close. A family member reported claiming they reached heights up to 10 feet tall. Police responding to the emergency request call reportedly found no UFO in their backyard, nor any extraterrestrial life forms on their property. It's a good thing. Unlike many previous allegations of alien contact, police did not report claims of anal probing by the aliens. Well, that's good. It is unclear how the 10-foot-tall aliens have remained undetected by any of Sin City's 640,000 full-time residents. Yeah, well, that's a good question. Although people did see the light and they heard the bang. It was caught on Ring cameras across the neighborhoods, I guess. Authorities have reportedly installed surveillance cameras with Wi-Fi connectivity on the residence of the family reporting the alien contact. A House committee hearing is reportedly planning to investigate their contact claim. Yeah, they're going to investigate it. Anyway, just wanted you to know there's the follow-up on that story. We'll see what happens. I don't think they're going to get visited again, but maybe it's just me. Legendary music producer Quincy Jones, the Q, rushed to hospital after a medical emergency. Says he was suffering a medical emergency. Multi-Grammy award winner, 90, I didn't know he was 90, had a bad reaction to some food he ate. Let's hope that's all it was. Yeah, so Quincy Jones, the Q, he was one of the guys that I never really got to meet him, but he was around at the studio where I used to work. Really, at the time right before I started, I missed him by just a few weeks or months from the time I was working there to the time that he was working there on his record, and many others. I mean, he worked with Michael Jackson. Obviously, he was the producer for the Thriller album and many other great records. So prayers go out to Mr. Q. Hopefully he'll be okay. Yeah, not good. Climate authoritarianism. WEF wants 75% fewer private car owners by 2050. I don't think we make 2050. What do you guys think? The climate change boondoggle acts as a mechanism for all kinds of social, economic, and political changes that could greatly diminish the freedom and financial survival of the average person, as the world witnessed with the COVID pandemic. Global institutions working with governments and corporations are happy to hype up false threats and inspire public hysteria if they think they can use that rising fear to whittle away at our individual rights. That's pretty well said. The hype over greenhouse emissions is no exception. Yeah, well, we all know that. And, there is some legitimate argument that could be made in man-made global warming or climate change, and that's simply, you guys know what I'm going to say, geoengineering. That is the main concern we have that has to be stopped. But anyway, that is an Activist Post article, so feel free to look at that. Here's the guy that I mentioned earlier, former Tucker Carlson producer Alexander McCaskill was forced out by the women in charge of Fox. I thought that was kind of interesting. Yeah, Tucker, whether he knew it or not, basically just admitted that it's basically, women running the show at Fox News. Yeah, that was a pretty good video. And, it's interesting when they talk about geoengineering in some of those videos like that. They always couch it in, oh, well, this is what we're going to do maybe if we have the funds. Or in the future, we may have to geoengineer, when in fact they've been doing it for decades. And, Brian Wilson there alluded to the fact that they were already doing it. But, yeah, they've been doing it for decades. And to say that they're going to do this somehow in the future, or that Bill Gates is planning to do something like this, it's already underway. It's been happening for a long time, and the damage is being felt now. So we're going to look at geoengineering a little bit more in just a few minutes, almost to that tab. I've got that on the list of tabs across the top here. Good Morning America reporter in San Francisco says they're not filming downtown because they were told it's too dangerous. Over the past few months, we have covered the closure of numerous businesses in San Francisco. This is the reporter here on Gateway Pundit talking. One thing that many of them have in common is the out-of-control crime being experienced in the city. Now the mainstream media is starting to take notice. The situation is so bad they can no longer ignore it. On Good Morning America this week, they did a report on some of the closures. And at the end of the story, the reporter says that they're not filming downtown because they were told it was too dangerous. Wow. So again, if you're in California, you might want to think twice about that. So we mentioned King Charles earlier. One of his silly sons, Spotify, parts ways with Harry and Meghan after paying them a reported $20 million for 12 podcasts. Man, how many podcasts have I done? I'm nowhere near 20 million bucks, that's for sure. That's pretty funny. I'm nowhere near 20 bucks. So I'm just joking. But anyway, yeah, 20 million bucks for 12 podcasts. So way to go, Spotify, spending that money real well there. It's a good way to stay in business. Spotify has parted ways with Harry and Meghan, ending the deal they inked back in 2020. The media outlet reportedly paid them $20 million for a series of podcasts. They ended up making 12. It's really nice work if you can get it. Is that what the left means when they talk about privilege? Who else gets to make that kind of money for this kind of work? You would think that they would be able to reclaim some of that $20 million. Anyway, the old soon-to-be Antichrist's lame son has just made quite the windfall, apparently, from Spotify. Pretty funny. But they're saps if they're going to let him just walk away with it. Information liberation. Ukrainian pilot trained in America for 2 years dies just weeks after returning to the Ukraine in one of the first combat missions he flew. So he must not have been trained very well. That's too bad. I mean, you hate seeing that, but on the other hand, it's not too surprising. Let's see some of the other headlines here. FBI groomed 16-year-old boy with brain development issues to become a terrorist. So, again, this is on Information Liberation if you guys want to pull this up and look at it. RT says Russia could save humanity by using nuclear weapons. So that's interesting. They may mean nuking the U.S. I have no idea, which is now Sodom and Gomorrah. Or Mordor, at least, D.C. So crazy. Jury orders Starbucks to pay $25 million to manager that they fired for being white. Summit.news, border agents intercept cloned FedEx van full of migrants. So is a van that's painted to look like Federal Express. Of course, it's kind of sloppily done. The FedEx Express logo looks pretty real, and it looks like one of their vans, except it's really banged up and it's got a bunch of white paint slopped across the side. Spider-Man across the Spider-Verse joins forces with Soros-backed immigration group. Hollywood and Soros groups in league to flood America with cheap foreign labor under the guise of promoting belonging, quote-unquote. Sony's animated film Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse released a public service announcement in partnership with a Soros-backed group which promotes importing migrant labor and mass amnesty. So there's a video embedded here about the true crimes of the Soros family revealed as well. It's on Infowars.com. I can do all things through the one who strengthens me. The story of a remarkable father and his handicapped son. So that's interesting. That's on vaccineimpact.com. Whistleblower claims Antarctica ice cube laboratory has energy weapons that can cause earthquakes. Now that's the video we watched at the beginning of the show tonight. The Ice Cube Neutrino Observatory is located at the South Pole. So that was mentioned in the longer interview. That I will link to that in my Substack post tomorrow. Imminent cyber attacks on European banks and nuclear conflict being threatened over Ukraine. Another article, U.S. government bypassing Fourth Amendment by buying your personal information from data brokers. Yep. Young mother sues corrupt Baltimore County social service who kidnapped her daughter, but she needs your help. So, man, we see so many stories of that kind of stuff happening. CPS kidnapping kids. And I'm not sure if that's exactly what happened here, but could be. Amazon and Starbucks sued for collecting, retaining, storing, converting, using, sharing, and profiting from palm scans. Yep. Probably one of the whole reasons they do it. Mexico's proposed ban on GM corn, genetically modified corn, angers the U.S. and Canada. So Mexico says no, and the U.S. and Canada say, hey, why not? Why not? Wildfires, look again. Buildings disintegrated, trees staying green. Wildfires that are not natural, product of the geoengineering agenda. Well, we saw the trees like this last year. I remember, I think it was last year or the year before in California. We have hollowed out trees on fire with holes in them. The holes are interesting, although I'm not sure how unnatural that type of thing is. But it is interesting. Look at these cars. That's definitely not normal. Yeah, so could be dues. Who knows? But this is another reference to Global Alert News and geoengineeringwatch.org. So we'll look at that in just a second. 250 out-of-control fires now in Canada. plan to move people out of the country into 15-minute cities, something we talked about last week. Yeah, I mean, I think that's definitely one of the plans. Whether or not it works is another story, but it's certainly one of the things they were trying. And notice too, I'm not sure if it shows in this. Well, let's just look and see. No, it doesn't show in this article, but I've seen a couple of different pictures that show where all of these fires are in Canada, and they magically all stop at the northern border of the U.S. It's amazing. I didn't know that the northern border was so resilient, was so wonderful. It can't keep people from coming through, but it apparently can keep forest fires from starting. Yeah, so it's definitely a plan to attack Canada and force people out of the rural areas. New theory claims the Temple Mount not the center of Jewish life in Jerusalem in biblical era. So I saw this article, and it's on Israel 365 News, which is a site that I reference pretty often, and I wanted to see if it mentioned what I've been saying really for a long time, and that is that the evidence points to me and to many other people who also believe that the first and second temples were in the city of David in Jerusalem, not on Temple Mount. And I know you guys know about this. So I wanted to see what this website said about that idea, if it even came up. And indeed it does, at least to some extent. Because Israel 365 News is I don't know that they're working with the Temple Institute, but they certainly have the same beliefs, and that is that the temples were both on Temple Mount, the first two, and that's where the third one will be. I do think that's where the third one will be, ultimately. But this is talking about, it says, researchers have long maintained that the original core of what would become Jerusalem wasn't inside the old city of Jerusalem. It says the article then went on to claim a dearth of physical evidence that the city of David was the focus of a bustling Jewish capital. So they're saying that hardly any evidence was there, but they're playing it down is kind of the whole point of this article. They're playing it down because of who this is. This is basically not only Israel 365 News, but the people who are supporting the idea of the third temple, when it's built, to be put on Temple Mount. So they're playing down the idea of the city of David being one of the main centers for life in Jerusalem, and that's what this article is really about. I think it, if you kind of flip it and do a 180 and read it for what it is, I think you will find that there's ample evidence instead of hardly any evidence that the city of David was the center, and therefore it would make a lot more sense that that's where the first two temples were. So that's really the only point of me bringing this article up. I thought it was kind of interesting just from that standpoint, because it kind of shows you that they're looking at this with the idea that they know that there will be another temple built, and they want to make sure that all of their information points to the fact that anything that's city of David related has to be debunked, essentially, so that they can get their temple and they can get it on the Temple Mount where they think it goes. But again, they value tradition over actual truth and history more than anything. Tradition's more important to them. So anyway, just an article I came across, and let me know what you guys think. Geoengineeringwatch.org. This is the week of the show for yesterday, June 17th. Physicists have now officially predicted that Earth will become a chaotic world with dire consequences. Have the so-called experts acknowledged climate engineering operations yet? No. Fresh snow in Utah, while the Texas coast hits heat index temperatures of over 120 degrees. Summer snow is also in the forecast for portions of Western Canada, where record high temps and wildfires have raged for weeks. What's wrong with this picture? Another group of experts has just authored a report stating geoengineering is shockingly inexpensive. Yeah, they've been saying that for some time. I think that was David Keith who said that back in the some of the movies and things like that he was featured in. They further suggest that we should embrace geoengineering and put aside our unfounded fears. Welcome to the planetary asylum. How long till impact? Yeah. Yep. That is a great question because I think we're not too far from that. And for other reasons in addition to what he's citing here, Mr. Dane. So yeah, geoengineeringwatch.org if you want to check out this week's show. June 17th just was published yesterday, so definitely don't miss that one. And that show, by the way, is available on Spotify. I don't know if you guys we were talking about Spotify earlier, it just reminded me that we put that on Spotify every week as well. So if you're on there, feel free to look up GeoWatch on there. Lost Search Radio this week, the guest was Dr. Brent Davis. So feel free to look up this show if you want to. It's kind of interesting. New dimensions of flower essence therapy, energy medicine pioneer, Dr. Brent Davis. He's a guy not too far from where I am. He's based out of Middle Tennessee area, and he's doing some interesting work, energy healing with flower essences, which I'd never really heard of before. But one of the Planetary Healing Club members had Richard contact Dr. Davis and asked to interview him, so that's what we did. And it is an interesting show if you guys want to check that out. Just was published earlier tonight. So yeah, check that one out if you want to. And where else are we here? I think we're reaching the end. So let's go back to the rest of the chat and see if I missed anything you guys were saying. Note to self, don't sleep with a loaded gun in your hand. Yes, that's a good point. Only in America can you go to jail for accidentally shooting yourself. That's true. True Nature says that book by Quayle is worth the price regarding Antarctica, Beneath the Ice, and how the Nazis didn't really lose the war. Almost like a psyop to continue beneath the ice. Yeah, good point, True Nature. Yep. California to rewrite infertility and will force insurance companies to pay for surrogates to have kids for gay men too sick. Yeah. Kathy, yeah, I think that's exactly where it's headed. Yep. Do you think the negative RH factor is Nephilim in origin DNA contamination? I've heard that before. I don't know. I don't really know enough about the blood, the different blood types to know if that's the case. I think I've heard maybe Steve Quayle talk about it before, or somebody like that. And I kind of remember them saying there was no real proof of that, but I could be wrong, and I may be wrong even attributing it to Steve. But it seems like somebody of that caliber has talked about it. But it's been a while, and I hadn't even thought about it in a long time, so I don't actually know. I would be surprised that if that's the case. There's definitely some stories, and you've probably seen pictures of some people who have 6 fingers and stuff like that. I think the case could be made possibly and stuff like that. And those probably are not freak accidents, you know what I mean? But I don't know about RH factor, Nephilim origin, talking about RH blood. I don't know. I wish I knew, but I don't have the answer for that one. No idea. Let's see. Emily, I am RH as well as Mark is RH. Oh, wow. Okay. They say you can't have kids without getting the ROGAM shot, but I hadn't had it since my second and found a lot of moms have no issue. No issue. Oh, okay. Wow. No, I hadn't heard that one. That's interesting. Yeah, I'm very experienced with the ROGAM shots. That's how I learned I have it. Okay. So yeah, Emily, I don't know. I wouldn't really put too much stock in that. I mean, honestly, the healthcare system, and you know this, the healthcare system knows so little really about the human anatomy. I mean, yeah, how things are put together, but as far as those type of deep meanings, I don't know. I have my doubts. You know what I mean? Question, doesn't blocking the sun ruin the whole idea of solar panels? You would think so, yes. They don't bother to tell you that, though. But yeah, geoengineering, yeah, blocking the sun would ruin the whole idea of solar panels. Not to mention how toxic solar panels are when they're made with some of the worst chemicals possible. And, they're touted as being green and environmentally friendly and all this stuff. Far from it. And, Dane talks about that actually pretty often, is how crazy it is for solar panels to be given this the green light from the green agenda, and how silly the whole thing is, really. So, yeah, blocking the sun would definitely harm the solar uptake for sure. And that's something he's talked about for a long time. Just watched an interview, this is from Verb Homefront, of a person who had been in the dumps. He said they are full on cities and farms. Yep. I've heard that too. And synthetic light. Oh, really? I'm guessing so they plan on living down there. Yeah, I think that's the plan. Yep. They think they'll be safe down there as the rest of us get destroyed. Us useless eaters. Yeah, I know. That seems to be the plan. Who knows? Tim Cohen and Obama said Obama is an Antichrist, the rider of the white horse. Not the Antichrist, Charles, but definitely an Antichrist. Kathy says, yeah. Yeah, I don't know about the white horse rider. I don't know. I have my doubts on that. But he has proof probably, So I don't know. I would listen to what he says. I don't know if it's completely true or not. I haven't heard that. But I do think he's an Antichrist. But there are so many. He's not the only one. Many of them are. You could point to lots of world leaders who have been that. Certainly Hitler was an Antichrist, but not the Antichrist. So, pretty interesting. Yeah. Question: do you have you looked into the directed energy weapons related to the fires? Yeah. Mm-hmm. Also, do you think the U.S. started the fires? Verba Homefront. I have, but not recently, and I do think they were started on purpose. Certainly, for sure, in California. A couple years ago when that happened. I don't think that explains all of them. I don't take an all or nothing approach, and some people do. But I do think that the technology is there. I do think that sometimes it can be explained in other ways, but I do think that they are using it some. But to say that it's always that or never that is probably not right either. You know what I mean? It's probably that sometimes. As far as what's going on in Canada right now, I don't know. I mean, you guys have seen the footage. Many of the fires kick off all at the same time. I don't know how you would explain that, other than a plan to do that. And if it's ignited from some satellites or something like that, I guess it's possible. If they all start within minutes of each other, it sure seems like, how else could that happen? I mean, otherwise you'd have to have people on the ground with some way of starting the fires all at the same time, and why would they even need to anyway? So it is interesting. I think that there's a good argument to be made for the fact that those type of fires, when you see them all pop off at the same time across the board, when you're looking at maps from the College of DuPage, which is what Dutch Sense had on his channel, I think there's a really good argument to be made that those probably were started from some sort of technology like that. So I don't know. It's hard to say. I definitely think it exists, though, for sure. Yep. Lost Arts has good shows, Joyce says. Well, thanks. Yeah, I do the production work on that. I don't have any control over. Well, I shouldn't say that. I don't have 100% control over who goes on, who gets brought in to be interviewed. I do have input because lots of people we've interviewed are people that I have connections to. So Richard's real good about it. If I have questions, things like that, suggestions, he always will listen to anything like that I bring to him. And if I have suggestions for guests, he considers suggestions from anybody. So if you guys have people that you would like to see interviewed, let me know or let him know. And, you can write to us, info@lostartsradio.com. And that's a good way to let us know who you want to see on Lost Arts, because we get a lot of good ideas that way. We've got one coming up next week, actually, who's a professional. She's involved in homeopathy somehow. I don't really even know the details yet. And I think it'll be a really interesting interview. And that came as a result of one of the lovely ladies who listens to the Diamond Report. And she suggested that we get this person on, and you guys will see. Let's see. I guess it will be the show coming up next Sunday, because we're going to talk to this lady later in the week. So yeah, it'll be interesting. That's how it always works out. It's just suggestions that kind of come up, and hopefully it'll result in a good show. So yep. Flower healing essences is more common overseas. I have a rose-based essence to help with anxiety called Rescue Remedy. Verba Homefront says. Yeah, well, I hadn't really ever heard of it. I'd heard of homeopathy, but this isn't really that, according to Dr. Davis in the interview we just did. So it was interesting, I thought, and I don't know. He shows some before and after pictures, side-by-side comparisons of the same people within like a month of being on these essences, and there's a pretty dramatic difference, but he specifically states that it doesn't work this way for everybody. So, but it's pretty wild. So yeah, it looks like that's all. L.A. Marzulli for Lost Arts. Yeah, L.A. has been on Lost Arts before, Kathy. Yep, he's been on before. It's been probably 2 years or 3 years. It's been a while, but you can find it. That's one of our shows that has not been banned. They're picking off shows left and right. I mean, I don't really get the messages. Richard tells me about it, but luckily they're not giving us strikes from most of them because we still have the YouTube channel. But they're picking off 2 or 3 a day sometimes, and then we'll go a week, and then they'll pick off 2 or 3 more the next week. But it's weird. We're losing many videos on YouTube, but we do have a Rumble channel and a BitChute channel and a Brighteon channel, and those are all doing really well, so that's good. But yeah, LA has been on there, and I think you could probably find him on Lost Arts. It's Lost Arts Radio on YouTube. And I can try and include the link for that, if I remember, in the Substack post for tomorrow. But yeah, that was a good show. Ellie's a great guy, and always highly interesting for sure. And he's definitely the guy to talk about all the weird, alien stuff that's been going on lately. Speaking of which, we're going to be working on a new film. I don't know if you guys know, I mix his films, and we're going to be working on another installment of the UFO disclosure series, which will be coming out pretty soon. He was just contacting me a few days ago and let me know that he's wrapping up film number 6. So the first 5 are out there. So number 6 will be in the hopper before too long. I'll be working on it probably in the next few weeks, I'm guessing. So anyway, yeah, something else to look forward to. LA's a great guy, though. I really love working with LA and Peggy. Good folks. So there is the Diamond Report shirts. If you guys happen to be interested, I know some folks have bought them, and I don't know if you've got them yet, but let me know. I've got one. I like it, and it's out there. It's available. It's the link is in the upper right corner there. shop.thediamond.report. If you're interested in helping me promote the show, and there's the Telegram channels, the Diamond Report, and Take It to the Lord in Prayer, and I will link to those in my Substack. If you guys aren't on Telegram, I would suggest that you do that, just because it's a good way to have a censorship-free platform. I think that's a good option for folks. So Telegram seems to not censor anyone. So that's good news. Got a few new subscribers on the YouTube channel, so thank you guys for doing that. I've been doing a kind of a composite show. When this show is done, being how I covered so many verboten topics on this live broadcast. In the case of last week's show, we ended up with a 77-minute piece from last week's show that ended up on my YouTube channel that was safe, and so far so good. No strikes on that one yet anyway. So we'll see. We'll do that again probably this week, and continue to put up these show highlight reels for folks who like to just get a shortened version of the show. I mean, honestly, you miss most of the good stuff, unfortunately, but not all of it, because there's some things you just cannot talk about on YouTube. So, okay, let's see. Rumble channel. That's what that looks like. Diamond Disc. I don't know if you guys know. Some of you do. Some of you may be new. Diamond Disc is my business name. That's what that's about. That's why you see a diamond and a disc. A little bit old school. I still do some work on CDs and DVDs, believe it or not. I mean, it's really few and far between at this point. Most of the music work that I'm doing involves mixing and mastering for projects that will end up ultimately on streaming services and downloads. Just because that's where you have to be if you're a independent musician, and that's who I work with primarily. And speaking of which, I should pull up my let me pull up my website. We haven't done that in a while. If you go to DougDiamond.com, here it is. This is my mastering company: production, mastering, mixing, editing, design, development, and placement. So yeah, this is Diamond Disc Audio. This is my my business. Started it in 1996. And yeah, it's been going a while now. So I've been started out doing primarily just mastering, and then started building websites in the mid 90s, and still doing that, as you guys know. Built AnthonyPatch.com and LostArtsRadio.com and so many other things. I help with geoengineeringwatch.org. I took over handling that website for Dane, even though I didn't actually design that and build it. It was already existing before I came along. But yeah, I do website design and production work. And I was thinking about, maybe let me know what you guys think. I was thinking about talking to L.A. Marzulli actually on this next film and seeing what he thought about doing a, not a live stream, but like a recording of me working on the film and just to show people what it's like to actually work on the sound for a film. Just to give people an idea. I know it wouldn't appeal to 90% or 99% of the people out there, but there might be a few people out there who really dig what that's about and like how to understand how it even works. Like what do you even do to master or to mix the sound for a film? What do you even do to do that? So I may do a video on that. I'll talk to LA and see what he thinks. He may be all for it, but he may say no too. I don't know. But yeah, I may do that. We'll see, and it's interesting to me. I've made my living doing that kind of stuff. So, as far as what I do, though, yeah, I do mastering and mixing work in music, and also dialogue type things for films, for podcasts, and things like that. And then website development, I do graphic design, and everything on this website here. You can kind of go through it and see some of the work that I've done. There's some examples on there. If you guys want to look at it, DougDiamond.com, that will get you there. And if you happen to have any friends, family, people like that involved in music, definitely send them my way. I might be able to help them. One thing I do is placement. So I will take people's music. If it's really great, let me add that caveat. It's got to be really great. And try and help them place their music in different situations. Maybe an independent film, maybe a video game type thing, maybe a DVD menu, a YouTube commercial, a TV commercial, name your media outlet, and try and match music to picture. And I enjoy doing that. It's a lot of fun, and the best part is being able to help independent musicians find a new audience, and then therefore being able to make a living themselves in what they're doing. So I like to try and help people do that. So that's one of the things that I do. So, and I've done some live streams on that very issue, actually, music placement. So, and that's available on my website. So feel free to look at that if you want to. I brought all that up because I was mentioning that Diamond Disc is my business name. So wow. Sorry about the tangent there, but that's the BitChute channel name as well, and Brighteon and ClickView. So that's all the different places you can find this particular show. Feel free to take a look at it. If you've missed my Take It to the Lord in Prayer series, please go back and watch that. At least the first one. That'll give you a really good idea of what that's about. I still have people asking what that's about, and what's this 2028 thing, and isn't Jesus coming back in 2030? And I tend to think that it I don't know, it's not up to me, but I think it's 2028 from what I can tell. From the projects that have fallen in my lap, that's what I think, that right now things are working out to be 2028, but even before that, I think that the final 7 years started in September of 2021. And I've gone into that in many other videos in the past that I've done. So feel free to look at those if you want. They're called End Times Dates. You'll find them on the Take It to the Lord in Prayer YouTube channel, and those all have a gold cover. If you scroll down, if you're on the channel here, they have these gold covers that have the Book of Revelation on there, and feel free to look at those. And I've done some interviews with Dave Hodges and Anthony Patch, and I guess that's all. So several with Dave Hodges though that are on there. And otherwise, I mean, this new show really is a product of that particular series, because what I'm doing here with the new show is trying to integrate the fact that we are living in the end times, and this is further proof. All of these news articles, with the exception of the ridiculous, silly, funny type things, all the news articles, the serious stuff, from the alien, disclosure type stuff to the trans and gay everywhere stuff, Sodom and Gomorrah type stuff, to the biological changes and all of the genetic manipulation that's going on, and the Nephilim type stuff that we talked about tonight, that we touched on. It's all related, and it's all connected to now we live in the end times, and I have tried to put that together in a series where it's outlining the timeline as I am understanding it. I feel like God has led me to. it's not my idea as much as it is what I have taken from other people's work and sort of collated together into this timeline idea, which may or may not be 100% accurate. I'm not saying it's even 100% accurate, but I do think it's close, and I do think that we're seeing some of those things play out now. So that's really the idea of this live news show is just further proof that Jesus' word is true and that the book of Revelation is absolutely 100% true, and it is unfolding before our very eyes. That's what's amazing to me. And wow, I mean, it's pretty mind-blowing when you think about it. So anyway, that's all I had for you guys tonight. So feel free to stay in touch if you want. You can reach me on any of these platforms just by leaving a comment. And if you're on my Substack, you can email me through there. You can leave a comment as well on there. If you want to email, feel free to email just by replying to any of my Substack emails that go out. That also makes its way to me. So yeah, let me see if you guys have any other last minute suggestions. I like the idea behind the scenes of how your production job works. Mushi says, okay, good, yeah. I mean, I don't know. I don't want to bore anybody, but I would try and make it at least somewhat interesting. God bless you all. Thanks so much, Doug. If you haven't read Doug's bio online, look it up. Super interesting. Yeah, thanks. It's it is interesting, that's for sure. I have met and worked with a bunch of people you guys definitely know. So a lot of more that you don't know, honestly, but there's some big ones. I mean, just to not to brag about things, but I mean, my very first album credit that I ever got my name put on was Natalie Cole's Unforgettable. So and that was unforgettable for me. I mean, how often does that kind of stuff happen? I mean, my first job in Los Angeles, working at a studio, it's the only place I worked in LA. First album credit was Unforgettable by Natalie Cole. I mean, wow, it doesn't get much better than that. That was pretty cool. So yeah, that's kind of the stuff that's fallen in my lap over the years, and I've gotten to do some really fun projects and work with a lot of. Now, I mean, the projects I'm working on now are, to me, even more exciting, really, because it's stuff that's changing the world in some way, in a small way. You know, like working with people like Dane, and working with people like Richard, and people like L.A., and Anthony Patch, and people like that who really have a network of people who follow them, who need good production type work to be able to get their message out. So that's what I'm trying to do, is help them as much as I can. So yeah, that's what I'm trying to do. So yeah, Emily, wow. Yeah, there's some funny stuff. If you want to explore the bio, it's there. I don't think it's too long and boring, hopefully, but yeah, feel free to take a look at it if you want to. It's Diamond Disc Audio. It's DougDiamond.com. You can go to the About page and read about that if you want to. And yeah, it's been fun being involved in music, but I've kind of branched out as well. I'm still doing music stuff, but not really major label recording artists. I'm doing more independent work, more independent artists at this point. People are unsigned. That's why I said if you have friends and family, feel free to send them my way. I might be able to help them. So anyway, hope you guys have a great week coming up. It will be an interesting one. It always is. So feel free to stay in touch. And God bless you guys. Thank you guys for hanging out with me tonight. But yeah, I'll probably chop it down just a bit, just to kind of smooth things out a little bit. And we'll put this up tomorrow. It'll be available on Rumble and BitChute and Brighteon and ClickView and back on Facebook and everywhere I can put it. And we'll put the shorter version on YouTube as well. So thank you guys. Talk to you guys again very soon. We'll do this again Sunday night. I've had some people mention that we should do some shows during the day. I don't know. I think the Sunday night thing's working out pretty well. If we do some during the day, I would probably tend to gear it toward being a separate show. It would be this show, but just a separate show, a secondary show, if I can find the time to do it. As you know, I'm pretty busy a little bit right now anyway, so we'll see what happens.